you went to your favorite thrift store, maybe you checked out the yard sale last weekend, or maybe you just bought a pallet of liquidation, and you, no matter how diligent you are, you come across that item that looks great, maybe powers on when you plug it in, but something's wrong with it and it just doesn't work properly. So what do you do with that? So I'm going to talk about that on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. Welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin Ain't Easy. And in this video, I want to talk to you about when you source and you happen to pick up something that looks great. Maybe you're, like I said in the intro, you're at a yard sale, at a flea market, you know, at a thrift store, or if you're like me, you buy liquidation. Unless you're buying absolutely brand new goods, you know, you're never guaranteed to have items that work. Now, I'm talking about electronics mostly from my experience, but there's all kinds of things that, you know, maybe you pick up that isn't functional or completely functional the way you thought they were. Maybe you pick something up, it looked great, looked complete. Maybe you're missing parts, you know, like maybe board games. You buy a board game that's used, it looks pretty good. You're missing pieces, various things. You get my idea, I hope. So I think a lot of us are in this boat where we're really trying our best to source complete, fully functional items, and we're not always gonna make that happen, unfortunately. What I want to ask you is, how do you handle items like that when you come across, maybe you go out sourcing and say 2 or 3 of the items that you pick up to resell just aren't functioning like you thought that they were. You know, maybe that person at the yard sale was willing to power on that VCR and the lights came on, but maybe the VCR eats up the tape. Maybe there's a problem with the tray on your DVD player. Maybe there's just that video game system looks great, powers on, lights come on, but it doesn't read the games. Now, in my case, if you watched my video a couple days ago or a few days ago, it's right up here. And it's when I went and bought that large pallet of liquidation goods that I had to have my wife help me with. And so we get home and I took that photo of all that stuff that's in the box, that large box. Turned out there's like 50 different various electronic items. Average retail on those items probably was around $125 per item, brand new. Now, of course, these are returns, so I knew that there's a certain percentage that just was not going to work. Well, it was a larger percentage than I thought. And, you know, for me, there's a value there. So, you know, of course, it reverts me back to the time when I sold a lot of items for parts and repair. In fact, a couple years ago, I recall buying a pallet full of Xboxes and PlayStations. I think at the time it was PlayStation 4 and Xbox Ones. Must have had about 30 systems in there. And I thought I got a great deal. I think I spent like $2,000 plus the freight shipping. I think at the time it was only about $400. So $2,500 is about what I was in for the whole lot. But I figured, wow, you know, you get these systems in, and they had advertised it as customer returns. And it turned out that, yeah, they were customer returns, but someone in their facility decided they were gonna gut everything. So all I was left with was just the shell of these PlayStations and Xboxes that didn't have a lot of the components, like the hard drives were taken out, various important components. And yeah, some of the guts, electrical guts were inside, and the shell of the systems were there. And in some cases, it was just no shell at all. It was just the guts. And I'm like, what am I gonna do with this? And I thought, well, you know, I'm not gonna waste my time with this. I'm just gonna throw it away, until I went in and did some research on it. And it turned out that people were actively looking for those components. people that specialize in rebuilding and refurbishing systems. And then they go on and they resell the system as a working unit, and they want the parts. And so as luck would have it, just because I did that research, I made about, I'd say, $5,000 approximately on those parts because people wanted them. The parts were in demand, and didn't get a single return on any of those listings. So since then, I've been buying a lot of lots and stuff, and when I come across an item that's not functional, I simply throw it away. But these that I received in this box with average sale price, retail price, brand new, about $125, had some really nice items in there. And I was able to about half of them test out, and they're fine, they work perfectly. About the other half, the remaining half, either didn't test as a working unit, just kind of like dead, a paperweight, or I didn't have it didn't come with the plug or the necessary accessories for me to even test out the units. So that's kind of my question to you is, if you're faced with an item that would normally sell for $100, you get it home, do all the testing, and find out, wow, this thing doesn't work. What do? Put your comments down below. I'm curious to know how you handle these items, because let's say you're into an item for $10, $20, expecting to make 70, 80, 90, maybe $100 on an item, or even more. What do? Do you just eat the loss, move on? I'll tell you what I do and what I'm doing with this lot. And there's a couple different scenarios. In both cases, I'm using for parts or repair. And that is a non-functional item, okay, or untested item that there's no expectation for the item to work. And the idea, by you listing it under parts or repair, someone at least should notice the condition, but it is also on us as sellers to be clear about the item's condition, both in the item condition portion of your listing and in your description as well. So I'm going to show you an example of two different items that I pulled out of this lot. And really, they're going to be both sold as for parts or repair, but for two totally different reasons. The first one is, I pulled this, couple of these actually. It's a Western Digital Elements. It's a hard drive. It's a 14 terabyte hard drive. It's a big one. And I believe the retail on this is about a couple $100. So this item, as you can see, has the factory wrap on it, okay? And I look closely at this, and if you look at the plug right there, it looks like it's just thrashed. In fact, when I plug in the plug that comes with it, it doesn't work because there's little pins that are, see the little gold pins, they're like sticking up that need to be straight. And I'm not an electrician by any means, so I'm not going to get in here and mess with this. It looks like someone may have, well, actually I think it's on the other one. This one looks fine, but the other one, I have two of these. It looks like someone went in and tried to go in and maybe mess with the internal hard drive, because on the inside of there's an actual hard drive. And so that connects to your laptop, your computer, all that. So I'm not even able to get this thing to power on. I even used the power adapter from the other unit that had one in with this one, and it's just dead. When you hit the power button, it doesn't come on. Now, that's not to say that the hard drive inside is bad. It very well may be. There's definitely a problem. So I don't have the expertise to deal with that. But when I go online, I look at the comps, there's people that buy these items under that condition. They'll go in, they'll fix whatever. There's electricians that can go in there with these soldering irons, do whatever they have to do, and then reflip that. They're not going to get full retail. They'll mark it as refurbished more than likely, but it'll be sold somewhere between, I'd say, open box and used. Somewhere the pricing will fall within there. So if I list this $150, $200 item for 25, 30 bucks plus the cost of shipping, someone will buy it up, they'll try to do a fix, and they will then reflip that for maybe about 100 bucks or 80 to 100 bucks. And that's just one example. Now, the other item, I had received two of these. It's a DeWalt. You can see the sticker from the return on the front of the box. It's a DeWalt brushless 3-speed hammer drill. And, you know, so it has the grip piece on it. Looks like it's been very used. So someone bought this item and they used it for a while, even carved their little A initials into it to identify, or they marked their initials on both sides to identify that it belongs to them. But there's one key component that I don't have that I can't test this with, and that is the battery. Now this is very used. Even if it had the battery and I was able to power this on, it's simply going to be a used item. But I have no way to know if this thing works. And in both cases, there's no battery. So what do you do there? And, you know, for me, again, it's for parts or repair. I cannot test it. So in the other example, I can say, look, I've tested it. Here are the tests that I've actually performed on the unit. You need to put that in your listing. You need to put that under the condition description portion, and also the actual description of the item itself. And this is where we get problems, because a lot of your buyers are buying on the eBay app, okay? And if you're putting all this information in the item description, if you go in, and I'll try to put a picture here of what that looks like if you're not familiar with the eBay app. If I'm only looking at just the general listing, as if I'm browsing through the listing to see what is going on with this item, I'm only going to be able to see the condition details, or they call it the condition description for that item, okay? If I have, you see the little blue where it says item description, well, if I have a buyer who's not willing to click on that and they're just scrolling through that front page and all your information is buried in there, you know, requiring them to click on it, otherwise they're going to be oblivious to this item doesn't work, well, that's a problem. And that opens you up to item not as described, even though you have it under the condition of for parts or repair only, okay? That simple designation on an item doesn't make it so that the customer can't return it. In fact, we've talked about this many times. There is not, in any way, shape, or form, a no return policy on eBay. Maybe you've been lucky and have no return selected, but you get that buyer who's adamant about returning the item because maybe they feel that the information wasn't clear to them. Maybe they didn't bother to read, but maybe it wasn't clear to them. They're going to file an item not as described, and you're going to be forced to take on that return. So the way to do that here, so that we can make sure that the app buyers will see this description, I mean, of course, it's going to show for parts or repair only, but you need to make sure that your condition description has as much information about this item, you know, 2 or 3 lines is sufficient. You can also say, please click on the item description for more information if you have a lot to say about it. But, you know, make sure that at least there you have that information. You still want to make sure your item sells and shows up in search. You know, you don't want your item hidden down on the 4th or 5th page because you decided to put for parts or repair only in the title. You know, there is no need when you have a new item to put new. There is no need when you have an open box item to put open box, and there's a lot of people who do all those things. Maybe it's because they ran out of things to put into the title. I don't know. But, you know, a lot of people will say, well, it's the right thing to do. But if you just don't have the space, if you're still trying to sell your item and you're very clear everywhere else as to what's wrong with that item, it is perfectly fine not to put that condition in your title, because eBay does advertise the condition that you have selected for that listing. I guess the other question that one would ask is, how do I determine what I should throw away versus what I should bother listing for parts or repair? And my answer to that is it just really depends on the solds. So this is where your research comes in. You go on and do an eBay search. You click on that left-hand side, you click the condition. A lot of times you will not see for parts or repair. What I do is I'll go on and click the solds. So you'll see a bunch of items that have a green price on them. And I will sort by low to high. And a lot of times your parts or repair items will come in there if anyone's bothered to sell an item like that for parts or repair. And I will then kind of see what that item's been selling for as a broken item. And if I don't see anything, I'll generally just throw it out. If I see something that shows that maybe there are people out there willing to buy this type of item and it's more than, say, 20 bucks, I'll go ahead and list it because I'm going to charge 20 bucks or more depending on the solds plus the cost to ship the item to them. And so I think maybe a lot of us have been quick to just throw that item away and not at least try to recoup our losses. And there's people out there who will want those items. So I was just thinking about that today with all these items that I picked up, so excited about, and to see about half of them just really in not functional condition. Now I told myself there's about 50 items in this box, this entire lot, and that's just one box. I had just a bunch of other coffee makers and home appliances that are just sitting on this workbench in my garage that I haven't even messed with yet. If I only sell all the items in that box at $10 a piece, plus the cost of shipping on top, I will make my money back for the lot. And so had I thrown the half of them away, about 25 items away, probably I'd lose about $100 to $200 on that lot. So just something to consider. It's important. There's a lot of you out there who say, hey, don't sell junk. It's not the right thing to do. If you are hiding the fact that it's junk, if you're not upfront and honest in your description information and in your item description itself, so you have it in two different places in the listing, if you don't have that information in there, shame on you, and it's going to bite you in the butt because you're going to get a lot of INADs on there. But for me, I've had good success in the past. Yes, you're still going to get your return requests for people who just are so much in a hurry and they don't want to read. That happens. But in the end, it's all about one thing. Did you make money? Yes, it was a hassle here, it was a hassle there, but you made more money than you would have if you'd have thrown it away in the trash can. So that's what I have to say, guys. Again, I want to hear what you have to say. Comment down below. While you're at it, hit that like button if this information was somewhat useful to you. Please consider subscribing to the channel. I'd certainly appreciate that. I'm trying to make a push to 10K, and I know that I have to step up my game if I want you guys to subscribe to the channel. And I appreciate each and every one of you who have subscribed. I did send a post out earlier yesterday asking you guys about some thoughts about the channel. So please check out that. That's for those of you who are subscribed. And guys, I do what I can to maximize the amount of money that I make. It's not pretty. This game isn't 100% pretty. Unless you have that hookup where you're sourcing brand new things and don't have to go to yard sales, don't have to go to bin stores, don't have to go to, who knows where, or don't have to buy pallets like I do, you're going to have this problem. And this is just one idea. Maybe you don't want to mess with it. That's fine. But some of you out there might be afraid to sell broken items, and just do your homework, be 100% honest, and things will go smoothly. But regardless of whether you sell broken items on eBay or not, just know that flipping ain't easy. And we're going to talk to you guys here in a couple days. Have a great rest of your week.